I am here, Michael Wade. Yeah. No, I was up at 4 a.m. taking a shower. I am in the actual studio. If you go to my Facebook page or Twitter or whatever, and Cam, I'm getting a echo back, by the way, so I don't know if that's something you can fix. But yeah, I'm in the full studio. You can see it if you go on my social media and check it out. You'll see, and I am dressed, not in my pajamas. I actually have sweats on. I mean, I'm not dressed in a polo shirt, but I'm fully dressed and showered and got my iced tea, and we're streaming. Yeah, yeah. Uh, Teddy's being Teddy. He's right under the desk in his bed, checking it out, just chilling and waiting for Dad to finish up his whatever it is I'm doing. So he follows me around, if I shift from one room to the other, except for when I go to the kitchen. He knows I'm coming back within a few seconds with some iced tea or something, so he doesn't bother getting up. No, we're good. We're good. You have to check out. I don't think you've ever been to this studio. You have to come by someday. Yeah. We still got to watch the 2000 Mules, Mike. The 2000 Mules. Yeah, it's and I got to tell you, the leaking of the Supreme Court draft is the timing is so suspect in that it was right at the release in the movie theaters, and I think that was not an accident because they wanted to, among other things, gin up the base of the left, obviously, but they also wanted to bring some, just something else, another shiny object out there. Now, Dinesh D'Souza says that they are going to bring it back to theaters again. They are going to re-release it because the demand is so high. You can download it on his site. You can watch it on his site. You can either pay, I think it's like $20 for the movie, or if you join his site, you get the movie free. But if you join it for, I think $50, don't hold me to any of this, folks. It's you get the movie and then you get all the other material from his site to me, which is a deal. So yeah, that's what's happening with that. Okay, this is fantastic, right? Yeah. Now, Mook, the campaign manager for Hillary, dropped the bomb this week, Mike, where he said on record in court that she signed off. She was well aware of the disinformation play. She authorized it. She knew everything about it. That's her own campaign manager, a guy named Mook, Mook. Mook said this, folks, on the record in court. So it is there and under oath. Just that's a great poll question. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, yeah. They ran with it. They ran with it. And the other thing, yeah. You know, Mike, I think it's and if it wasn't so you know powerful and dangerous, it would be funny. But the way that Durham really got Sussman here indicted is the fact that he claimed to Baker in the FBI that he wasn't representing anybody. He was on his own. He wanted to get this information. Yet he billed the Hillary Clinton campaign, and that's what he got him on, because he couldn't help himself but bill $1,200 an hour to go plant false information to try to bring down the opponent while they were spying. And you have Attorney Bill Barr said it under oath in the congressional testimony. Do you think spying occurred? He said, yes, it occurred. I think it did. When you are tapping into the servers and the phone lines at the Trump organization, the Trump campaign headquarters, and then not just the office, but the office of the presidency. And it doesn't matter who occupies the office, Mike. It's the office of the president. You had the servers tapped. You were watching what was going on. That is treason. It's irrelevant that it's Donald Trump. You have just committed treason to the office of the president, therefore to the United States of America. Why aren't people being rounded up and arrested and charged with these crimes? Look at what happened and what they did and how they pulled out all the stops for the January 6th insurrection, and how they in the same technology, right? The same method that they knew, and they were able to arrest all these people on January 6th by tracking their cell phones, and they could determine from 12 to 18 inches where they were in the Capitol. And they would go to Missouri or Idaho and arrest this couple who had retired and just went down, and ended up finding their way kind of escorted into the building. And there's the video of Capitol Police opening the doors and lifting the barriers. I'm not going to get into that. Let's put a pin in that discussion. But the same technology that they were able to find out who that was is the same technology that DeSuze in the organization he worked with found out where these mules were, because they bought over $2 million worth of raw data of the GPS coordinates of cell phones and smartphones in the country. Then they ran a program, an algorithm that said, here is the GPS location of all of the drop boxes. Now go through, this is what I'm telling you that the computer program did. Go through and find every cell phone identified that stopped at 10 or more. So a mule that went to 9 or less, that only went to 5 or 6 of them, isn't even on the radar yet. They said this phone needs to show up at the drop box, meaning within a 12 or 18 inches of a drop box, for X amount of minutes, right? So no, and then they found 2,000 people who in the middle of the night went to 10 or more of these things and was there long enough. And then they went back, Mike, and they got the video, and they watched them pull up and drop ballots, thousands of ballots in these boxes, and then they drove to the next one. Didn't he do? Yeah. and saved America, because if the Build Back Better had gone through and we had spent more money, inflation would even be worse than it is. And just as a side thing for the numbers, Mike, 159,633,396 to be exact people voted in the 2020 election. Now that's the largest total voter turnout in US history, in the first time more than 140 million people voted. All right, that's the highest in 120 years when measured in percentage of voting eligible population at 66.7%. So we're told that Joe Biden got 80 plus million votes, a guy who couldn't fill a phone booth with any rally he had during his campaign, ran from the basement, and now you're telling us that during a pandemic that we had the highest voter turnout, nearly 160 million people voted in that election. You have to wonder if every one of those ballots were actually, or as we saw in one of the videos, that woman in Georgia running the same piece of paper through the machine over and over again. That's not how you count a ballot. You run it through the machine once, it's done. Why? It runs it through, takes it up, runs it again. I'd like to know. That ballot is a vote for whom? Now, we know the answer to that, of course, but let's put her under oath, ask her what she was doing, and ask her what that ballot said and who instructed her, if anyone, to do that. Yeah. Nah, they were so arrogant. Sure. Yeah. I would suggest you do it now, Mike. Yeah. A day. Yeah. Mike, were you listening on the way in? Okay. I Yeah, on Friday show, and then again, I was finishing up the material on this, and basically, the short of it is that the Biden administration sent these amendments, and the WHA World Health Assembly kicks off today, and basically what these amendments say is that they will turn over all of our medical decision making to the UN, to the WHO, right? That if passed, the Biden administration proposed amendments that if their very existence and their intention drastically compromises the independence and the sovereignty of the United States. The same threat looms for all of the 193 member nations who belong to the WHO. That represents 99.44% of the world's population. And what this says is that the director of who this Tedros guy, who's a PhD, not a medical doctor. So we have a guy who's not the medical doctor in charge of it, who's also an Ethiopian Marxist, and Chinese government has basically bought and paid for him and poured millions of dollars into Ethiopia. They instilled him in 2017, and then another 5-year term this year. And we saw how much of a puppet he was when the pandemic broke out, because the lies that they had up on their website, and getting us away from the lab leak and all of that. But the contents of the proposed amendments, they were not made public, Mike, until April 12th, leaving very little time to protest before they're scheduled for a vote. And the amendments are scheduled again starting today. And the existing WHO regulations then provide for an 18-month grace period, but the Biden amendments knocked that down to 6 months. And it would turn it over. All this guy has to do, whoever the executive director is of it, or general director, whatever the term is they can just suspect that something, they don't have to have evidence. It doesn't have to be anything definitive. They could suspect that maybe there's a problem, and then they don't have to consult the nation in question. In other words, if they think that monkeypox is starting to break out all over the United States, they don't have to confer with us to find out what's really happening. They can shut it down again, right in time for the elections. Oh, it's all about that. It's totally. This all has to do with the Great Reset and the One World Order. This is the steps to it that the Bill Gates Foundation, the WHO, that they control. They'll control the planet. We're talking about 99.44% of the planet. So you have a few, tribes in certain countries that aren't even connected to the grid, and they're doing their thing. But the rest of the world would be under the one control. And if they decide to put this in place in the United States, and we don't want to, we don't have a say. They can pull 192 nations' armies. And when you see the United Nations occupying your residential streets with armored vehicles and the blue UN band on their sleeves, and these are Swedish shoulders, these are Finland, Italy, all right, wherever, they're on American soil to enforce Tedros's orders on American citizens, not American soldiers, occupying American land. That's where we're headed with this, Mike. Oh, she resigned, but you put it on pause. Hmm. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because all this is connected, guys. When it not the all this stuff that's going on isn't in a vacuum by itself. The obvious steps and policies that have been put into place to drive the price of fuel sky high is to an end result. Uh, they've told us that, and they believe that gas is going to be at 8, 9, or $10. The pain has got to be so great to the American population that we do bite the bullet and go into debt and buy electric cars. And to tell somebody, yeah, we got to take a break. We're against the clock. Yeah. I'm listening to LPDAM segment right now. Same one we played for a few weeks. I know what you mean. I was just joking. I know what you mean. Yep, I'm here. Absolutely. Nope. Nope. Chilling right here. Oh, you will. You will. We have gas stations that have set their pipes, Mike, to pumps rather, to be able to 5 digits. So they're expecting $10. So now, Spring California, they've already altered those pumps so that the price can be $10, whatever. They know it's coming. Wow. Yeah.
15% of the, I'm getting a lot of,
Agree with you so far. Everything that you've said. This also reminds me that this got very little attention, but Donald Trump, when he was president, asked the question, Mike, how do we counteract this CO2 problem? I mean, the planet is designed, right? Our foliage does it, he was told it would take 1 trillion trees, so he started the Trillion Tree Initiative to plant 1 trillion more trees that would negate the CO2 that the scientists were saying was imbalanced, right? Nobody covered this. Do you remember? Do you remember the Trillion Tree? All right. He mentioned it in one of the State of the Unions, and it was an initiative that he went forward with. But like everything else, if it had any positiveness to it, any positive spin to it, it it wasn't covered. It wasn't talked about, and it was a very simple thing, right? Plant more trees. Plant more trees. We deforest. We cleared. Look at what we've cleared for our cities. And if you go back to the 1700s to 1800s here in the United States, it's even back further. Um, we were in danger of eliminating, right? Because our fuel at the time was firewood, was wood, right? We built our cabins, and they heated it and they cooked with wood. Everything was wood. So to survive, a family would clear several acres of trees every year just to live. And what happened? The trees were disappearing from New England at a very fast rate, and they've been replaced. Yep. Yeah.
you talk,
Yeah. Yeah. But on that note, Mike, also, they have discovered that once windmills have been put up in these turbines, and they can go 200 feet into the air, right? Uh, yes, some birds do end up flying into it and they're destroyed, and that's horrible. But they've also found that the birds learned from this and they changed their migration pattern and they stopped flying into them. So it does happen, but like everything else, they realize this is not a good thing. This is dangerous. So we don't fly over there. They're not that stupid, right? They get it. And we do lose birds. But now you've got windmill or wind turbines that are hundreds of feet in the air. And otherwise, birds would be getting killed. I mean, they'd be dropping every day if they didn't learn to fly around it, wouldn't it happen? But it's not. No, the fact that it's against the federal law, for one, and I would have no desire to do that. I would shoot a bald eagle all day long with a 35 millimeter camera. Absolutely, I would love that opportunity to do that, but no. Um, Nor am I a hunter. I mean, I think a lot of people assume because you're Second Amendment advocate and own guns that I'm out there shooting a bunch of animals. And if I was to go hunting, I would do that with every intention on eating the prey. If I was hunting, I would eat the venison. I wouldn't. Oh, absolutely. With price of meat. Are you kidding me? All these guys that do the hunting, and it happens to me. I have buddies that hunt. They that's their thing, Mike. Right? They're hunters. They work their job. They do that, and they go hunting, and they have all the great equipment and the guns and the camouflage, and they get into it. And they offer you meat every year, right? Because they can't even fit what they bring home in their freezer, so they offer it to friends and family, and I've taken it on times, but I usually turn it down. I don't think I'd turn it down again. If someone was to offer me several pounds of venison or something, you bet your bottom dollar I'm going to take it. I went to Stop and Shop the other day. Uh, you know, Teddy doesn't eat much, but what he eats is the good stuff, and it's not cheap anymore. It's I got a small dog, right? Because he eats hamburgers and steak and even hot dogs. Um, I don't know how he got off dog food. It's a mystery to me, but it's not cheap. Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, and that's the hunter's code, right? They do. That's just what happens, right? And I have no problem with that. And also they've been trying to stop people in certain communities, right? They've restricted your ability to grow food on your own land, right? So there's this orchestrated effort to control all of the agriculture, all of the food production in the country. And when we go back to the basics, what are the things that dictatorships and communists takes over? The food, the healthcare, and they disarm the population. Those are the big three things that get done, because if you control the food and the healthcare, you control the population, Mike. It is. Yeah, same guy they tried to cancel too. Remember? Right. Yeah. Yep. Right. Wow. Yep. All right. Thank you, Mike.
Radio 830 WCRN. This is Full Service Radio, AM 830.